Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at a few of my old desktop Bluetooth speakers that I had before. And this is the Audyssey Wireless speakers. And haven't done a video on these speakers before. I actually had these way back in 2013. And I think these were actually my first pair of dedicated desktop speakers. And these were actually pretty good for what they were at the time. I actually did a video a few weeks ago talking about a bunch of my old desktop speakers and soundbars I had in the past. For a lot of them, I didn't really have any videos on them. Like, I just had pictures, that was it. So I had the Klipsch R4B, the Samsung soundbar, the Klipsch Pro Media 2.1, the Creative T4W. So those speakers I had, but I never did any videos on them, which I kind of regret. Like, I should have probably shown you guys the sound of those speakers. And yeah, unfortunately back then I didn't really do much reviews on speakers back then. But I decided to take the time when I came back to my parents' house to do a video right now on some of my old speakers, because I do have some of my old speakers still available at my parents' house. So I never talked about these speakers in my video, but these were actually the first desktop speakers I had before I got the Creative T4Ws in Korea. So back in San Francisco, when I first moved into my the apartment that I had in Russian Hill, yeah, these are the speakers I had for maybe about a year, I think 2013, 2014. And I actually have to say that they're pretty good, and they still hold up today, actually, surprisingly. So first of all, they're made by a company called Audyssey Laboratories, and they're not a speaker company. They actually mostly make software focusing on room equalization software. So those of you who are familiar with Audyssey are probably familiar with their room EQ products like Multi-EQ. So yeah, those are probably what they're best known for, is for that software. Just they compete with Dirac Live, with Anthem, ARC. Like, there's a bunch of different room acoustic equalization softwares out there that are mostly installed on like home receivers, right? And Audyssey is probably the best known for that. They don't really make any other products now. So these speakers are kind of a product that was released, I think, for a little while, and then they discontinued them. So they don't make speakers anymore, but they used to make other products like this before. So now they just focus on the Multi-EQ stuff, the room equalization software. But back in 2013, they released these speakers. They cost $250 US, and just going over the specs, they have A2DP. I don't actually know what Bluetooth version they have, but they have A2DP. I don't think they have aptX though. And each speaker has a 3/4 inch silk dome tweeter, 3.5 inch woofer, and a 4-inch passive bass radiator. And I have to say, these were my first pair of desktop Bluetooth speakers, and I actually thought they were pretty good. And even compared to my Creative T4Ws, which I had later on, I think these are actually better than those. And these cost less. For 250 bucks, these are actually quite good. So yeah, Audyssey. This company now best known for the room equalization software, and that's pretty much all they make now. So these speakers really are just, I mean, you can't get them anymore. And it's cool though that they have these speakers, but I wonder why they stopped making speakers, because I honestly think this is their first speakers and only pair of speakers, and I think they did an honestly pretty good job, right? They're not a speaker manufacturer at all, but I'll show you guys how these sound like, and honestly I think they sound pretty good, pretty solid for what they are, right? This is coming from a company that doesn't specialize in speakers. This was their only pair of speakers I think that they ever made, and yeah, I don't know why they stopped. I think these are actually pretty solid. Like, so the controls are fairly simple. First of all, there's a non-removable grill cover. I don't think you can remove it. Can you? Oh, maybe. No, I don't think I can. No, I think these are, maybe you guys can see a little bit of what's going on inside. I don't think I can remove these grills, so, but you guys can see the outline. There's the silk dome tweeter and the woofer right there. And you guys can see there is a passive bass radiator at the back here, which actually helps a lot, because this speaker produces much better bass than I expected given the size. And yeah, these are pretty old school speaker terminals, because they don't accept any kind of spade plugs, banana plugs, or anything. The only thing they accept is bare wire. So I had bare wire hooked up here, and then you have aux. You have the power cord right here is a proprietary power cord, and then you have an aux input here, and the Bluetooth pairing. So basically, yeah, just like the actually I don't think the Klipsch Pro Media 2.1 even accepted Bluetooth. I think that was wired only. But yeah, these ones only have two inputs, Bluetooth and wired, which is via the aux input. But I'm going to be testing out the Bluetooth because that's really how I mostly used it, is through Bluetooth. And of course, these are powered speakers, right? No external amplifier needed. The powered Bluetooth speakers. And yeah, pretty simple to control. This is a headphone jack, I believe, which is nice, right? If you want to listen in private. And this is the volume button, obviously, but you can also use it to turn the speaker on and off. So it's off right now, and I can use it to turn it on. Okay, so how do they sound? But remember, these speakers are $250 from 2013 from a company that doesn't really specialize in speakers. But I will tell you guys, I was surprised about the sound quality of these. They're actually pretty decent. Alright guys, so this is what it sounds at 50% volume. Now this actually can get fairly loud, which is pretty impressive for a speaker of this size. And it has an impressive amount of bass for a speaker this size. So I'll show you guys. I'm going to turn it all the way up to maximum. You guys can hear how loud it gets. So this is how loud it gets. That's pretty thunderous bass actually for a speaker this size. So you guys can see it's a part of it is the passive bass radiators. It actually extends the bass by a lot. I think this is a similar trick used by a lot of Bluetooth speakers, like small ones, to make it sound a lot bigger. Like my Creative Sound Blaster Roar 2 did the same thing. It has a bunch of passive bass radiators. Really extends the bass response. But yeah, just hear it. Yeah, so that's actually pretty impressive. I mean, think about it. These are 3.5-inch woofers they have, like, and $250 from a company that doesn't really make speakers. It's a pretty impressive effort. So honestly, I have to say that's for my first pair of desktop Bluetooth speakers, these are actually pretty good, pretty solid. So yeah, I'm not actually sure if it's the best sounding pair of Bluetooth desktop speakers at this price. I mean, I guess the Audio Engine or you know, some Fluon speakers could sound better, but for me, you know, as far as just powered desktop Bluetooth speakers go, at around $250 back in 2013, these were probably, you know, you could do a lot worse. I mean, I think they're definitely pretty solid. So anyways, yeah, these are the Audyssey Wireless Bluetooth speakers. So once upon a time, Audyssey, the software equalization, like room acoustics equalization company, made speakers, and they were actually pretty solid, I would say, for the price and the size. So yeah, that's it for these speakers. These were my first pair of desktop Bluetooth speakers. Mostly used these with my laptop back then. All right, and next up is, I would say I got these a little bit before I got the Creative T4Ws in Korea. These ones I bought back in San Francisco, I think around 2014, 2015, and I ended up giving them away to my parents. So these are the Polk Audio Hampdens. And yeah, Polk doesn't make these anymore, but these are desktop speakers. They're really meant to be used both with Bluetooth and with your computer, because they actually have a built-in DAC through the USB connection, which is really cool. But yeah, I gave these to my parents as kind of like an upgrade over the Audysseys. And yeah, I do think these are better than the Audysseys, but they're also more expensive. They're $400. The Audysseys were $250. So first of all, I just want to note the Polk Audio Hampdens. Let's talk a bit about the overview. The company, Polk Audio, is fairly well known, I'd say, in the mainstream like consumer audio market. They make mostly entry-level to mid-range level speakers, so they really compete a lot with Klipsch, with DefTech, I would say, and ELAC. Like, those are probably the main competition. Maybe Wharfdale as well. So you're looking at yeah, SVS probably as well, or Emotiva. You're probably looking at the entry-level to mid-range here. So Polk Audio, I would say, is fairly well known though among the, if you just go to any kind of not even a specialty audio shop, just go to Best Buy, they might have Polk Audios on there. So yeah, I think they're pretty decent. They make some pretty decent value products, although these are my only pair of Polk Audio products I ever owned. I think these are pretty nice sounding desktop speakers as well. So first thing I have to give props to Polk Audio for is the design. So I really love the way it looks. It looks really vintage. So you can see they have this wood paneling on the speaker here. Not real wood or anything, I don't think, but definitely gives it a nice retro look to it. So I really like the finish and the looks of the speaker. And we can look at the specs here. So they've got 1-inch soft dome silk tweeters. So that's a bigger tweeter than the Audysseys. And it's got a 4.5-inch composite polypropylene woofer that's also 1 inch bigger than the one on the Audysseys. And it's got a 3-inch downfiring passive bass radiator, which is smaller than the one on the Audysseys. The Audyssey has a 4-inch passive bass radiator on the back. These ones have it down at the bottom here. So you take a look. So it's downfiring. So that's what they have. The bass radiator, bass comes out here. They don't have a bass reflex port on the back. So it's not rear ported, it's like down ported, which is really interesting, I guess. That's how they chose to do it this way. So yeah, actually just take a look at the back connections. So it uses an interesting connection with the speakers. It uses bare wire. So again, no support for spade plugs or banana plugs here. And actually I lost the original connector. My dad actually helped me make one. He's actually a mechanical engineer, so he actually makes a lot of stuff. So it's cool. He actually created another connector for these speakers, and I think it works fine. Is the adapter jack here, and 3 ways to connect actually with this speaker. So the first way is the USB connection, and it actually uses its own USB DAC that's built inside the speaker. That's really cool because most laptops and computers don't have very good DACs built in. So this will bypass the DAC on the laptop or computer, which most of them have, you know, pretty crappy DACs, honestly. This will use a better DAC. Now, I'm not sure what kind of DAC it is. I haven't found any specs on that, but it's probably better than the one on your computer. So it's cool to have one built in. So that's one method of connection, just connecting it to the computer with that. Another one is just use the 3.5mm aux connection. And then finally, we have a Bluetooth connection, which is what I'll use here. It uses aptX. So Yeah, unlike the Audyssey, it has aptX support and it should be sounding better, I think. So, I mean, it's got bigger drivers, right? And it comes from a company that actually has decades of experience making just speakers. So I would expect the sound quality to be better on these. So, yeah, and then the controls, it's pretty simple. Actually, there's only 2 controls on the speaker on the side here. So this is for Bluetooth pairing, and then this is the volume dial, that which also turns on the speaker. So right now it's off, but once I rotate the dial, it'll turn on, and the volume is actually, the speaker can get pretty loud. And yeah, I will show you guys what I'm talking about. So weird thing about the speaker is that the volume seems to get exponentially louder as I adjust the volume. So like 5, the volume's not too loud at 5. Actually, it's fairly small. But then once I go up to 6, it gets like exponentially louder. So it's not like a linear scaling. I don't get this. It's a little bit weird to me, but yeah, 6 is substantially louder than 5, and then 7 is substantially louder than the 6. And then 8 is substantially louder again. And then 9, I'll show you guys how loud it gets. It gets pretty loud. It's 9. This is already easily enough to fill a small room. And then go up to 10. Yeah, it's pretty loud. Now back down to 8. So yeah, even at this volume, I think it's good enough for a small room. And I think 7 or 8, the volume on 7 or 8 will satisfy most people. Alright, so that is the sound of the Polk Audio Hamptons. Overall, I think these speakers sound, it's interesting. I think definitely has a very wide soundstage. So, like, I don't know if you guys can hear, like, that the soundstage is incredibly wide with these speakers. And it doesn't sound like the sound is even emanating from these speakers. It sounds like it's coming from a little bit, like, around the speakers, which is really interesting. And the highs and the mids are definitely better defined than on the Audysseys. The bass is interesting because I think the Audysseys actually have better bass. And yeah, I think maybe it's because the Audysseys have that bigger passive radiator, but yeah, the bass is a little bit lacking on these speakers. I think the Audyssey does have better bass, despite the fact that the Audysseys are cheaper and smaller. But yeah, the mids and the highs are definitely better on these, and the soundstage is definitely wider. And also the Polks are a little bit more versatile because they have a built-in USB DAC you can use to connect to your computer. The Audysseys don't have that. Yeah, actually, the only way to connect the Audyssey to the computer is with an aux cable, which, you know, basically has to be connected direct to the headphone jack of a laptop. So it's not really going to sound the best. These are definitely going to sound better when using the USB connection. But it's interesting because I think there's some kind of DSP stuff going on in these speakers. Like, it sounds like, it sounds a little bit artificial. And it's weird because it's almost like it's trying to create this soundstage that's like pretty wide. In the process of doing so, it sounds a little bit weird and artificial. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. So it definitely, I think it's pretty good for a set of desktop speakers, right? I mean, these days I spent like $1,000 on my desktop speakers, but considering these are $400 and then the Audysseys are $250, I think both of these are pretty good for their price. The Polk definitely tries to be like, there's some kind of DSP stuff going on here to try to create that soundstage. But I don't know, some people might like it, some people won't, but for me, it doesn't sound as natural as on the Audysseys, I think. But definitely the sound is pretty good on the Polks. Just sounds a little bit weird because of that enhanced soundstage thing going on. But, you know, it is surprising how big the soundstage is on these speakers, considering, I mean, the size, right? It's definitely bigger than the Audysseys, but still can fit on your desk. So the Audyssey speakers, I think, are fairly impressive. I mean, especially given their price and the size, like to have that deep of a bass in a speaker that size is fairly impressive. And the mids and highs are pretty decent as well, right? Considering what they are. So yeah, it's got to give props to Audyssey. I mean, they're not even a speaker manufacturer, and I think that's their only effort actually when it comes to speakers. They never really made any more. So it's pretty impressive. And then Polk Audio with the Hamptons, I mean, these things can get really loud if you turn it up to 10, surprisingly. And the soundstage is actually crazy wide as well. So I would say, yeah, if you're And these are fairly big. I mean, they're bigger than the Audysseys for sure, right? So I say here, if you have space on the desk, I think these are nice. The Audysseys are really good for their size though, and especially for the bass performance, I think the Audysseys are really impressive. Overall, yeah, I think the Polk Audio Hampden sound better, but they are bigger and more expensive. Originally $400. I think I got this on sale though. Yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on these two speakers. I just wanted to go over some of my older desktop speakers. So might as well do that when I'm over at my parents' house and they have these speakers still. So let me know what you guys think of the Polk Audio Hamptons and the Audyssey Wireless speakers. I think these are both nice Bluetooth speakers for their time, right? This is from 2013, 2014, so we're talking like 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And yeah, for their price point and their size. So as always, thanks for watching.